Okay, so our next game for this show is WWF No Mercy for the Nintendo 64. It was nominated by @EWZ, EWWZY on Twitter. Thank you, @EWZ. So this game is kind of is it the last of the Aki pro wrestling?
Well, if it's not the last, it's certainly the best in any case.
It is the last one that features a licensed actual wrestling federation in it in real life.
The next one, it's like the the generic.
Well, they went on to make the the Muscle Pro, the Ultimate Muscle and Galactic Wrestling games,
yeah.
And then
so that's a different license then. Okay.
And the Def Jam fighting games.
I was just imagining like one of those like NES style like fake wrestling leagues, like the Earth Championship Wrestling Heroes League.
They also went on to make a Style Savvy game, and two of them. Oh, geez. What a friggin' weird portfolio this company has. Stroke kind of had. Okay, so in North America, this company released 5 wrestling games, 4 of them for the N64. Their first release was actually a WCW vs. the World, was the title of it. It was actually a PlayStation 1 game, early 97. Late 97, you got WCW vs. NWO World Tour, which featured the WCW and the NWO, which was kind of right before Starrcade 97 that year, so kind of peak WCW.
Which were basically like competitor league type things to basically the WWF, right?
Well, the WCW was an actual separate league. This all vaguely matters, and it kind of had this... so you saw like Hulk Hogan is like dressed up in black and white with a big bandana that said Hollywood on it for like 5 years, and that's that shit. They released another WCW branded game. Then they got the WWF license sometime early 1999 and released 2 WWF branded games, which was the larger, more successful, and now basically token wrestling fed in the United States. They're big enough to be publicly traded, so they're kind of big. No Mercy is the second one. And the reason it sticks out to a lot of wrestling fans is it basically was released right at the peak of popularity of wrestling in North America. It came out in November 2000. About 6 months after that, the single, probably the most highly regarded wrestling show in North American history happened, which was WrestleMania 17 or X7. And WWF No Mercy basically features a snapshot of the roster and of wrestling as it existed right at basically this weird kind of perfect crystalline peak to a lot of people. We could talk a lot about the Attitude Era and why it's kind of, I think, this gilded, held-up thing that doesn't look so good when you actually examine it.
Really? I've heard a lot of complaints about the Attitude Era in retrospect. Cause,
I can't hear anything because we're so far up our own butthole.
It's really familiar. The Attitude Era is where everything gets like super gritty all the time, right? Because like Hulk Hogan's evil now.
Oh my God!
Thank you, Diana Goodman.
What is going on?
So this ties into No Mercy because this game features basically everything you could, a cornucopia of styles of wrestling and of people who are wrestling. You've got, The Rock, maybe you have heard of him, and the Stone Cold Steve Austin, who are just these big, like, Hollywood blown-out guys. If you're into, like, wrestling as a scientific thing or whatever, you have Kurt Angle, who's an Olympian, Chris Benoit. Here's kind of where things fall apart. All of these games are terrible representations of wrestling. Just terrible.
Why is that?
They're so you think about good wrestling. You think about an actual fight.
Which is not necessarily... what you're talking about is you're talking about good performing, right? Because they're not... like good fake punching and fake kicking and fake throwing.
Good theatrical combat, let's say. There's a flow to it. The guys
where you like punch somebody and you also stomp your foot at the same time.
Yes, a good working punch. Yeah. There's a flow. Things are moving neatly. There's like a good back and forth. The movement in all of these games is fairly stiff. So, I mean, they were N64 games that relied on the D-pad for movement as opposed to the analog sticks. So those were kind of weird in and of themselves. The moves that you had, the move sets were relatively limited. Mechanically, you had basically you build something akin to like a special meter or a rage meter in, let's say, a Street Fighter. And
the thing with these games I never understood is you don't really have traditional health. It's more like
you kind of like lose stamina or something, right?
Yeah, but that stamina can be regained through basically not getting your ass beat. You have
it's more like a performance meter, right?
Well, right, because it's just like real pro wrestling where it's like if you suddenly like get psyched up by the audience or something, then you can get all your power back and win the day. And
yeah, like you can do taunts basically. Well, it's not basically. You have taunts that you conduct, which will boost your little meter.
So there's like a grappling mechanic to it?
Yes,
right?
so there's striking, there's grappling, and once you're in a grapple mode, you've got weak and strong grapple moves that you can pull off.
I guess that this series, its main competitor among enthusiasts would be what, the Fire Pro series?
Sure. Well, but the thing is, those games exist still. Is kind of the thing.
Well, but I'm saying like it's in terms of like enthusiasts who love like classic wrestling games.
Sure.
Like the Fire Pro series is the other one that I hear gets a lot of respect. I've actually I've collected I think all the PC Engine Fire Pro. I don't.
No shit.
Yeah.
I like pro wrestling games. I hate pro wrestling. I'm interested to hear how the game I like is nothing like real wrestling.
I'm not too familiar with most big wrestling games, but I will say that Fire Pro Wrestling Returns, one of the later installments, which actually came to the USA somehow for the PS2, that one's really fantastic. I mean, I might have been spoiled on that game because I'll say that WWF No Mercy, I just couldn't really get into how it played. I mean, I know these games are celebrated for how they're styled, but when it comes down to their core gameplay, I just thought it was a little too clunky, I'm going to be honest. And this is supposed to be the best one, too. So.
These games are completely impenetrable if you're not a wrestling fan. That's a problem.
I don't know about that, because I like them, and I am the anti-wrestling fan. So
I got out. I got back into wrestling a couple years ago. I'm basically back out.
Because of Roman Reigns.
But I'm aware of what's going on in the wrestling world, and that's fine. The Fire Pro games have always just seemed kind of impenetrable to me. Whereas No Mercy, while yes, it has some things going on, and there are things that you can do to be better at playing No Mercy. It is like, but not really like, a fighting game. I would agree. I think it's and this doesn't apply to WWF No Mercy necessarily. It applies to every one of these games. It's a little clunky. I just don't think it's very good at. To quote a guy in the wrestling industry, the one thing it's supposed to be good at, it's no good for. Which is show wrestling.
But I mean, they do wrestling moves.
They do, and the animations are pretty. That's the other thing. If you look at WCW versus NWO World Tour, which came out 3 years before this, and look at No Mercy, I'd say 75% of the animations are probably recycled, just iteration to iteration, like untouched. The things that they would add is Mankind will do the mandible claw on a guy, or The Undertaker does a power bomb now, so make that different power bomb.
Oh, so they add signature moves or something.
Yeah, but I mean that's about we put a new arena model. It's like great. That's like a bunch of 2D texture art.
Well, I mean the other thing we do have to mention here is that there's also versions like the Japanese versions of these games are different because they're not based on American wrestling promotions. They're based on Japanese wrestling promotions, but they feature American wrestlers. Or like Airsats American wrestlers, right?
So Virtual Pro Wrestling came out a little bit after the WCW game, and that has WCW and NWO guys. Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 actually is mostly an all-Japan game, so it has freaking Shohei Baba and Vader in it.
Now, for a while, like the American ones didn't have blood, right?
So No Mercy actually is kind of strange. So the original version of that game did have blood. There was some sort of glitch you could pull. Not glitch, but it's like basically the game would freak out after you played it too long. I think it was I'm not quite sure what it was. So there was let's call it a 1.1 version that was released, and they nixed the blood in it.
Why on earth would they do that?
Actually, at that point, they weren't really interested in nixing blood from wrestling, but they sure as hell are now.
Well, I mean,
The Crimson Mask.
Yeah, they used to like. Well, there were like some wrestlers who used to they would conceal razor blades on their person, and then they could like cut their own skin to make it look like they were getting like the crap knocked out of them.
Yeah,
to make it more exciting, you'd have like a blood all over their face, and that's the kind of bleeding you would see, like where they're really just like cutting right above their eyebrow or something like that. But they're trying to make it look really nasty and cool. But the other thing that I think these games are really popular for is the create a wrestler mode. So you can like create your own wrestler and like assign all their moves, and it gets really detailed. Where if you want to do it like you can spend a long time doing this, almost.
And it's every like bouncing off the ropes, you could do this strike, but if you hold down this button, you do this strike instead. Like when you've got someone in the corner, you can you do a front suplex, or you do a friggin' yes, you can really drill down. It's not quite the level that the Fire Pro games will let you drill down, as I understand, but the games I've played more than WWF No Mercy in my life are probably Civ 4, Civ 5, and Morrowind. That's really about it. I've probably played hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of WWF No Mercy growing up.
So you would say it is the best of the Aki wrestling games then?
I can't speak for Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, which as I look at it, I kind of want to play it.
Let me just ask this about I understand maybe that the Aki wrestling games are sort of more you had to be there to get into them.
Well, you also have to play with other people to really get it.
Like with most fighting games,
No Mercy actually has really good single player shit, though. I found I spent most of my time playing the single player mode of that, and like WWF No Mercy specifically has like a really layered like campaign mode. So it'll start you off in like a battle royal, and depending on how you place in it, it's a Royal Rumble. You either go down a like career path where you're like, oh, you're chasing The Rock for a championship, or oh, you're looking for a mid card title, or oh, we're going to pair you up as a tag team fighter. It does some really clever stuff, and it'll like put you in these like kind of different scenarios where it's like, oh, like win this singles match with this condition, or oh, we're going to beat you down, and it's a 2-on-1 match, and you have to beat both of these real mean dudes.
So these games, like the conceit, they maintain the what's the word, wrestling term, kayfabe, right? The fakeness of it. They maintain the illusion of it, even though everybody who's a fan of the game, unless they're 6 years old, knows that wrestling is fake.
Yes, that is true.
And I will say this about pro wrestling: I like the terminology a lot more than the actual thing. There's so many great words that come out of it.
So Xerxes, I was actually going to conceive a test sentence just to see if it would cheese you off. If that jobber didn't totally sell the main eventer Zenzi Giri, this booking would have been a total Haas fest.
Well, you had me up until Haas fist.
I just looked that one up myself.
That sounds fake. I think you just made that.
No. I'm looking this up on Wikipedia. A Haas is basically a big McLarge huge. A bulky wrestler is just there to be big, but doesn't really do much else.
A monster heel, if you will.
The big show for the past several years, basically. I hate to say.
This is.
Yes, I did it.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I just feel this thing spiraling out of control.
That was my purpose.
Things I have to feel superior about. Like I made a show where I just rank every video game that strangers name, and that is like that already puts me in like the bottom rung of society. But
I will say
I'm above the pro wrestling people. At least.
I will say there is one thing of No Mercy and wrestling games in general I really like. Character creators.
Yeah.
It is fun. My character of choice is Pink Belly Pete Saladin. Pink Belly Pete.
Did you make that one up?
I made Pink Belly Pete. Yeah.
Darn it.
I'd say my litmus test for good character creator in a wrestling game is how easily you can make Roger Klotz from Doug. I'd have had to be a bit more trendy. Dan Backslide from Looney Tunes cartoon The Dover Boys.
Wow, that's the second Dover Boys reference I've seen.
That's become really explosively popular on Twitter lately. I mean, I love that cartoon, but I don't know how the hell that happened.
Echo. Oh, we're back in our own ass.
No one will ever know.
I just took a wrong turn and just further up.
This is the try to piss off Xerxes hour that we've stumbled into.
Okay, so I don't know. I like this game, but I'm starting to hate it. Just listening to people.
Oh, okay. Maybe we should rank it before things become any more impartial.
Well, I do want to say one thing that I like about it, which is that it's weirdly unresponsive, like soupy, kludgy controls. are what kind of sell it for me, because it is exactly what it feels like to watch pro wrestling, where you're watching people move and behave in ways that no human being has ever moved and behaved in intentionally or naturally before. It's the most unnatural looking thing, and that's exactly what the game gives you. Is like you're just like kind of. It's kind of like the Octodad of wrestling games. And
I'm gonna go ahead and short this whole conversation about ranking this game too. You should look up the menu music for WWF No Mercy, because just based on that, if we were to rank it, this sure as hell is worse than Donkey Kong Country 3. And I maintain it's probably the best wrestling game North America has gotten to date, but it does not belong in the top half of the current list.
I don't know, man. Just put it wherever.
Let me.
Thank you.
Okay, I can really appreciate this game's craft and how genuine it is to the era.
I gotta say, like, it's funny that me and Sotenga are kind of going to be the game's biggest defenders after the game, like, who've probably played it the least, maybe.
Let me put it this way: my favorite wrestling game is actually Capcom's Saturday Night Slam Masters, and even then, that one's almost more of a fighting game, and its sequel was an actual fighting game, so maybe realistic wrestlers just don't jive with me. I don't think I'm really fit to rank this.
I don't know, again, realistic wrestling, pro wrestling games is there's so much to unpack there, but I don't know. Let me say this: it's the best version of a kind of game that doesn't really get made anymore, and probably will never get made again. And it is sort of the Aki games in particular are just kind of their own thing. They're such a weird anomaly, and
they are unto themselves.
The games have a lot of heart, I guess I would say, and No Mercy, even though because it is the most tied. Like, the only thing I don't like about it is it's so tied to its era license. Yeah, that I don't really. It's hard for me to. The game I fell in love with was probably the first of their N64 wrestling games, whatever the other.
Yeah. It had all these strange, like, East Asian wrestlers who, like, are based, like, they're named, they're all just basically have the serial numbers filed off of them, but it's like, who's this guy? He wears a
they're like
mask.
The Fire Pro
There's a certain wrestling game I had when I was really young, and I forget the name of it. I think it's by THQ, and what I remember is that you had a lot of weird secret characters, like, there was, like, a giant ant and a guy made of glass, and...
So,
wow,
that
sounds awesome.
The thing about, like, the best wrestling game ever, by the way, would be Hybrid Heaven, but
I knew you were going to bring that up. You're right, too, by the way.
I would say Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee is not a great game, but it also feels a lot like wrestling.
King of the Monsters is pretty fun, even if
King of the Monsters is a straight-up wrestling game.
Yeah, that's
Superstars for the arcade. It was
what
late
about
80s.
WWF WrestleMania Arcade? I actually kind of dig that game, as dumb as it is.
So WWF No Mercy, we're saying...
Look, I think it's in, like, the Blitz territory.
Yeah, that's actually exactly what I was thinking. I feel like it is like NFL.
Here's the thing: Blitz is an action. Blitz, as dumb as it is, represents an actual sport. Wrestling's fake, so put it below Blitz.
It's like, that's weird, isn't it? It's
we're going to have
a
people
version of a real thing, and this is more like
we're going to have some people complain about calling it fake because there is a lot apparently real that goes into it.
Hey,
but
the smarkiest smark on this damn show. That's fake.
Is that a portmanteau of Smart Mark?
Smart Mark, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the fact that I know this is such. That just tells you how much this insane subculture has permeated the internet.
Yeah, Americans specifically. Look,
like,
I was thinking I was going to defend this game a lot more, but I can't. And I love it.
I love it too. I don't know exactly what to even say about it that hasn't already been said. Yeah, I mean, I'd put it...
Like, I mean, you look at this list that we actually have, and it's like everything from about... Even DKC3 up is, like, mechanically sound, like, plays good, and is, like, fun to actually just be holding a controller and playing.
But is this game
I love
not
WWF
mechanically sound, or is it just it doesn't respond the way you want to? I think the game is... they could have made it as responsive as any fighting game, and I don't think that would have made it better. I think it would have made it worse. I think the game kind of works because you're never quite sure what your guy's going to do. it's like you're
Sure.
you're partly controlling it, but you're also just partly a spectator to just like because you don't really know what's going to happen. And there's a lot of like screaming at your TV kind of thing that's supposed to be fun about it. I mean, there was fun about it to me, and I don't know. It just I guess I'm so divorced from its in like its actual context that it's hard for me to even like. I just love how weird it is. But then again, if it were my choice, I would choose one of the earlier ones that has a lot more of the fake wrestlers, you know?
Yeah, I think it'll be weird because I might wind up putting one of the WCW games above No Mercy, which feels really weird. But as I'm sitting here saying this live, I'm kind of there.
The game, I mean, yeah. So above or below NFL Blitz? I kind of want to put it above. I like NFL Blitz, but I don't feel like I would never say you've got to see this to anybody like NFL Blitz. Check this, but I would say that about the Aki wrestling games. I would say like you really got to see like especially. Well, I mean, it's on the Nintendo 64.
I don't.
Yeah,
it's really weird too. Like
this just might be my bias showing, but I wouldn't say it's better than NFL Blitz. Like NFL Blitz is a game you just get into pretty easily, and you got to put in a lot more work to really enjoy No Mercy, I'd say.
You do? I feel like it's pretty pick up and play. It just you just got to redefine your idea of what play means.
Here's my knock, Bobinator. When you say Blitz, are you thinking Blitz or are you thinking Blitz 99, which is a better version of Blitz?
This is true.
Because if we're just talking about NFL Blitz, like original, no way. Now, if you want to talk about Blitz 99, oh sure, Blitz 99, easy, no question. I'm all the way with you. But I can't.
So that's a good point. Sotenga, tiebreaker. Not tiebreaker, tie maker, potentially.
Not really being big on either game. I'm just going to be pushover and defer to the majority vote here. I'm sorry, Bob. Or you can just count me as a non-vote. I'm going to vote for a third party.
I abstain.
Okay, hang on. Look, I'm not the biggest pro wrestling fan, but I'm even less a fan of football, so I'm going to put No Mercy above.
All right, that's as scientific a reason as I can imagine.
One more thing.
So there it is. So right now it goes above NFL Blitz and below Marvel Land, a game that I really liked when we ranked it like 2 years ago. And I can't remember anything about it.
It's by Namco, I can tell you that.
All I know is that we were correct when we made the decision. So that's all I have to go on.
All right. One more.
So there it is.
One more thing, though. The WWE circling the drains, so you'll see me at Lucha Underground. That's all.
Diggity dog. Breaking. Diggity dog. Breaking. Diggity